When I look in the mirror, there's a man that I see who's been searching a lifetime for a way to be free, never knowing the darkness that was following me like a mutating virus, one that I couldn't see. And I breathed you in, and I fell again. I can see the end. Here I am now, I transcend. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. I was searching for answers, they were there all the time, but I just couldn't see them. In my heart I was blind. I believed in your story, now I know it wasn't true. And I see who I am now, and I know what to do. And I'm breathing in, when I start again. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. Just turn around and go. I can't do this anymore. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. I want you to know that I let you go. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. You were everywhere, in my everything. I don't need you now. I want you to know I see who you are, and I'm letting go. I want you to know.
Hello! Maayong buntag, maayong udto, ug maayong gabi. That's good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. So you're quite not used to this face. So for those who doesn't know me, don't worry, because I don't know you too. Just joking. Yeah, I'm Will. I'm the COO of IAMDIVINITY. So Sam has some important things to do. So I'll be the one who would do the intro for today's call. So I also wanted to know, for those who are listening there, there are familiar names here in the screen. Hello, Amy, Arcadia, Barbara, Darol, Eric, Gilbert, Bro, Kelly, Cola, Marianne, Mary, Michael, Mike, a lot of them. Awesome, awesome. So could you put in the chat where are you from so I know? So for those who know, we're live here in the Philippines, live and direct. Cosmos, awesome, Powell, California, El Paso, Colorado, Texas, Greece, hi Paul, Switzerland, Dunedin, I think it's Florida, yeah, West Africa, hi Daro, Texas, awesome. Well, again, good day to all of you. So actually, I'm not used to this. It's my first time facing people around the world live on YouTube, Facebook, and every other social media we have. So welcome to our call tonight. So yeah, I'll just share some of um, whose will. Like, yeah, I'm the shadow um, of Jamie, like a side sidekick. I'm supporting him all the way. What he do, I do believe on all of his vision, and I truly salute Jamie for his values, his big heart, and especially Dawn. Um, they're the one who um, made me realize who truly I am. Okay, and yeah, I don't have any scripts, and I'm not used to this, so please bear with me. Um, yeah, Will is um, I started. I knew Jamie way back 2019, and I support him from the year, and I was quite amazed that um, as as far as we know each other, as the time passed by, we did build trust, and for me, loyalty. So that's so important for me. And Dawn came. Jamie introduced Dawn to me, and I did the process way back 2020, and it altered my life. There are bumps along the way. It comes also to a time that I'm afraid with Don, like when he was talking about the ET stuff. So I decided not to contact him. And yeah, I go back to my ego program. Um, Time goes by. Jamie contacted me one day, and I didn't know that it would change my life. Um, Financially, for me, I'm not really that. So Jamie helped me on that part, and helped me. What's more important is he made me realize that isn't the answer. So having your divinity is the answer. There are a lot of changes in my life. Before, if I don't think if I could face in this camera if I didn't go through the process, because I'm afraid for like just walking with many people around, because I'm thinking, what are they thinking? But now I'm not thinking anymore out of the intellect. So yeah, um, I will also share what happened to my relationship with my wife. So I've been married 2021, and then she did the process 2023 around September. Um, Being in a marriage is not that easy. It comes to a point that I'm thinking about giving up, but Don helped me. And it's also hard for those who has partners that I I highly recommend that both of you would go through the process. So our relationship right now is strong, so strong. We fall in love with each other. It's so weird sharing this live. But that's what happened to me, and that's what I wanted to share. So um I also have a son, and before he was so shy. Mm, so shy, but when my wife and I have that divinity energy, he truly changed. He now interacts with other people that we interact to. And I was so amazed with that. Because before he would just say, no, I don't want people, I don't want to talk, I don't want people. And it changed. So those are the things that happen. And every day I'm doing my journal. Um, I stay committed into it because I see how it helps. Um, and being you in your light, it's really amazing. It's ineffable. You can't explain it. Some of the people will say you're weird, something like that, but you don't care anymore if you because you already feel that one. And I'm also excited for the developments that are happening in the background. So most of the operations, I'm handling it. And as what Jamie and Sam saying, the improvements we're doing, like the crypto banking, the uh, a new website, an exclusive group for all the IAMDIVINITY partners. Out of Facebook and YouTube, we will have our own community, and that would be great. We will share our daily updates there, everything. And Josh would also have updates there for the crypto fund on our financial side, crypto fund, and the Forex fund. So for those here, um, yeah, Tiffany, hi Tiffany. Yeah, you already know that I'm the one um, who's on the onboarding call. Okay, yesterday I helped Linda transfer crypto, and yeah, I'm here at the background. I'll be doing my best, very very best to um, to make this company um, bigger and bigger, and our family bigger and bigger. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the man who made Will as Will, our founder, Jamie Divine.
Oh, buddy. Awesome. Put a 1,000 in the chat if Will did amazing. A million.
You.
I think that's a million. Is that pesos, Powell, or dollars? Awesome, buddy. Thanks for sharing. Welcome, everyone. Wow, that was nice to hear from Will, wasn't it? I totally put him on the spot. This way? Okay. Totally put him on the spot before the call. Sam is catching up on some much needed rest. He's been going at it really strong with the new website and everything. He was up till 7 a.m. Didn't sleep that good and needed to rest. So he's in La La Land right now, and it was only about an hour before the call that we knew he wasn't coming on. So I said, "Will, isn't it exciting that you're going to be sharing on the call tonight?" He's like, "Oh man, like, do I not have a choice here? What the heck?" I said, "Well, you've been putting amazing updates. We're really going to test your divinity right now, aren't we?" And it was amazing to hear from him and have all of you know him because, as Will said, I've known him since 2019, and I've had a lot of people come in and out of my life through all the successes and failures. And there's no one that I could trust more than Will. I would trust him with my unborn children. That's just the type of man he is. So I know no matter what, the integrity is there, and you know that makes us be able to go super fast. You know, not too long ago, we had people very close in the system, and it would just be red flag after red flag of just out of integrity, and like, oh, okay, now we can't trust this person with that task. Now we can't trust them with that. Okay, let's give them a little more time, see if they embrace the divinity so we can fully trust them. And there was a lot of those relationships, and so I'm just really honored to have Will by my side, my right hand Filipino man. Has been absolutely amazing and so supportive to all of you as well. I know if you've been around our community for a while, that's been all Will's doing. So kudos to you, sir, and thank you for everything. So yes, love to know, 0 out of 100%. How much of the day are you now holding your divinity? For those of you that have gone through the process. 75, Powell. Powell, you were 80, 88 yesterday. What happened, man? Gilbert, 100. That's what I love to see. Michael, 70. Mary, 80. Marianne, 75. Will, yeah, we did test you. You aced that test. Will's 100. 95, Tiffany. 70, LK. Yeah. First of all, those are absolutely amazing numbers. Okay. On the flip side, so before this process, before we've been doing these calls with you, where would you say you were at before all of the I Am Divinity stuff? What number out of 100% were you holding your light before? I'm curious to know that. Michael says 20-ish. So yeah, 20 to 70, you said? Huge jump. Gilbert, 70 to 100. Huge. Marianne, 40. Amazing. Powell, 40. Tiffany, 60. 80. Mary, awesome. Yeah, so how freaking cool is that? LK says 40. How cool is that? I mean, to spend, for most of you, it sounds about double the amount of time you've been spending in your divinity, which what a drastic shift to your life. You know, to be able to be in that open, receptive energy twice as much. Like the results of that are unimaginable, unquantifiable, of how much the ripple effect of that is. And that's if we let you stay there. No, just kidding. You have free will, but but also consider, you know, how to be in that 100% of the time now. So consider, why are you giving it up 20% of the time, 10% of the time, 30% of the time? Gilbert says that 30% difference still feels like 1 billion% in progress. Yeah, it absolutely is. And you're just getting started, my friend. I mean, you're only a couple weeks in. I can't even recognize the person that I was in 2019 compared to when I went through the process the first time in 2020. Actually, Will can attest to that, because he was pretty much living with me at the time in 2019, and literally night and day Jamie, like literally. And he's laughing over there because he knows that's 100% accurate. You know, that was the 2019 Jamie was the alcoholic weed addict. Okay, this is how addicted I was to weed. Will says, and I was the one bringing you the weed. Yeah. So we were both putting our lives on the line. Actually, how many years was your weed addiction? 9. So Will also had a 9-year weed addiction, pretty much every day. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, when was my yeah, a good 8 years, 7 or 8 years, almost every day. And so imagine in the Philippines where it's extremely illegal. And back in 2019, they didn't have as nice of a president as they do now, okay? Mr. Duterte, and he was very adamant on the war on drugs. I mean, it was publicly known that people, if they were caught selling drugs, using drugs, they would just either be put in prison for life or just completely taken out, like murdered, like actually. And Joel's smiling and nodding behind the camera because it's absolutely true. And imagine, um, I'd only been in the Philippines for a few months, but putting our life on the line, both of us, Will and I, Sloan and Josh were there too. We're all putting our life on the line, and then whoever was doing the runs, past from the city an hour and a half away. Yeah, there's checkpoints, and so he was bringing it, like hiding it inside of the motorcycle, like inside the scooter. And if they checked where he hid it, I mean, he would have been what, prison for life? Yeah. So, and he was just doing it so he could, get some money. Like imagine. So he's risking his life for the money addiction. We're risking our life for the weed addiction. No shit. So a completely different person a year later when I met Don. And then it's like that, all those things were just symptoms of living in the ego. So as soon as I worked with Don, got to the core of it, like the cause of all causes. Hey, Sam Devine's on here. Okay, well, we're gonna make you share now, bud. I know you said you're resting, so you can rest with a share from the condo. You dang addicts, he says. How long was your weed addiction, Sam? I think he has us beat. And
My
he's just got
weed addiction was 12 years.
12 years. And for those of the that don't know, you actually went to jail in Bali, did you not?
Yep.
So,
$40,000 later.
wow, $40,000. And what was it, about a week in jail?
Yeah, it's like a week in jail and then like what 17 days in a rehab center.
Wow. Was it worth it, Sam?
Absolutely not.
You know what the crazy part is? Imagine you didn't go through the process. Oh, you were about to go to Thailand, weren't you? Because why? Weed is legal.
Because yep.
Weed is legal. So it wouldn't have stopped you, but you were just literally changing countries so that you could go get away with it again.
Well, I told myself that I was never going to, but you know damn well that wasn't gonna last long.
Yeah, I've had a few of those conversations with myself over the 8 years that I was addicted. Yeah, that lasts about a week if you're
Yeah.
lucky.
Yep.
That's
I
fun.
mean, if you're surrounded by it, and then it's like, okay, you can get away with it. It's like, oh, it's not gonna hurt. But I'm so glad that I didn't go there and I chose to come to the Philippines because, yeah, I mean, I'm high on life now.
Yes, you are. I couldn't even imagine us like even taking a sip of alcohol or doing any type of drug. It's just like, what? That'd be so weird.
Yeah, right.
Right? It just feels so weird. So I'm curious, for so the question that I asked everyone, what do you say before the process you were holding your divinity, and what are you holding it now? Percentage.
Um, hmm. Before the process, which one? What do you mean?
Before working with Don, you could even go to like a year ago before you worked with him then.
Oh well, I had it at 100% for like 3 days, then it would probably drop to 50% for a whole year, and
And what
then
about
now,
before you worked with him? What would you guess that you were, hanging out in your divinity? What percentage of time?
probably like 40-50%.
Right. Cool. What are you at now?
I would say like 100% of the time, most of the time. I had a couple of slip ups last night. I didn't do my divine focus, and whew, yeah, kind of threw me off for a little bit, but back on the wagon.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll give you 99 today, but
99
appreciate you
today for
showing. That's awesome, man. So Michael says finding more cement around golden Buddha that needs to be removed is the non-divine percentage. Yes, that's an old tale of the they found Buddha and it was a statue they thought was totally useless because there was layers and layers of dirt on it. And then someone discovered it was actually pure gold under all those layers. So yes, Michael, exactly. We are absolutely pure. Gold doesn't even do it justice. Underneath all of those layers. Yes. So really important for all of you, because it will be a little different, to consider what's taking you out that 20%, 30%, 10% of the time. Like what? And remember, it's you choosing to give up your light for whatever the case is. And as Sam just said, I mean, we're still not perfect. We still have our moments. I shared yesterday, it was like, and this was a long time for me for the last little while, which was like a whole hour that I was out. And I shared in the updates, it was like the humanness that was coming through. We are having some delays with some of the projects, like the website and the smart contract and the banking, and I was just like, okay, like what do I got to do to like make it happen myself, you know? Like who do I got to message, right? And that human came in to do that, and then really quickly I was like, okay, I'm off, guys. I left halfway through the gym, went into the sauna, did the divine focus, and then it was just, dude, surrender 100%, like trust, just full 100% trust. You're not trusting. That's why you are getting in the way or thinking that you need to get in the way. And then last night I had someone who I'd consider a close friend, at least before, in the last year, and someone that just gave everything I could to this person. And he's messaging me last night, just full on attack, like, you owe me and you owe this my people, and if you don't, we're going to take you to the authorities and all this. He was going like full bully mode. And for a minute, you know, I was like, fuck. And I was in bed. It was literally the last, I got it like right as I was going to sleep. So it's not the best thing to do into your divine focus, right? So now I'm going into my divine focus, and about halfway through, it was like the ego was like, just grab your phone, just message him back, like, just, you know, like set him straight. And I there was two times in my divine focus, which was probably about an hour long, two times that I went to reach for the phone and then caught myself. It was like, nope, not going there, back in the divine focus. And I ended up having amazing divine focus, and then today took it to a whole other level, and it was like, okay, none of that matters. That's all just the ego attempting to pull me out of my light, because it's so rare nowadays, but it still does attempt, especially with the power that we're bringing out with banding everyone together. You know, like it's one thing for Don and I to be at Divinity Mountain and holding our 1,000 consciousness and just holding the light there, affecting the planet that way. And it's a whole other thing going live stream on all the social media platforms every single day and showing all of you how to get there as well. Just the ripple effect is absolutely insane, and the ego's throwing a major temper tantrum right now. It's actually very interesting to watch. But just like a 2-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, it's so easy to recognize it now. You know, it's so easy to be like, okay, that's just the 2-year-old doing what the 2-year-old does, throwing a temper tantrum, because they don't have any other tools, you know, to actually have power versus force. That was what Dr. Hawkins famous book was called Power versus Force. And force was all of the yeah, if you pull up the chart actually, I forget exactly what number it's at, but I think it's under 200, that it's all about forcing your way, right? That humanness, that ego, and above that is true power. But that's not the program that we witness out there, right? There's many just that bully energy, right? That bully energy that's force, that they mistaken for power. Okay, not exactly the one I wanted to show, but that's okay. So for those of you that haven't seen this, by the way, the interesting part is 85% of the population is under 200. 85%. So when, you know, the fear programming goes out, like the old C word that happened for a few years there, if majority people are around 100, the level of fear, that's why it was so easy for everyone to fully grasp onto it. Like that's where they're at. So that's why it became so popular so fast. Whereas, you know, 700 to 1,000, not very popular, right? Sounds like Chinese to most people. And so that's why, like, look at how fast those major negative events went around the world. You know, for example, 9/11, you know, for those of you in America, super intense, emotional event. Went around the world in an instant. The C word, 2020, around the world in an instant, right? Adopted by almost every single country and almost every single person inside of those systems. And so, wouldn't it be cool? Don has figured out the process to bring someone to 700 and above in an instant, in an individual or a group. Wouldn't it be cool that the light goes as fast around the collective consciousness in an instant? Hey, Alex, great to see you, bud. Yeah, so the interesting thing is, so the old that's awesome. That's a perfect example. The old wound and the salt, right? If someone comes around with salt and you don't have a wound on your hand, is it going to hurt? Are you going to be triggered? Are you going to go into a rage? Are you going to shout at them and tell them that you're going to beat them up and get them put in jail for the rest of their life? Compared to when you actually have a wound on the hand and you put a bucket of salt on it. I mean, you can just see the reactions, just like a phobia. Exactly like a phobia. There's no reasoning with it. And I tried, believe me, I tried, because to me, I used to put friendships above my own divinity. I used to put friendships above my own divinity. And so it was very easy to go into that, right? To go into the, okay, let me explain to them. Oh, let me work it out. Let me help them feel better. Whatever I got to do to help them, you know, I'll do it. And I found out through all of that, there was literally nothing that I could say. And a phobia is a perfect example. The phobia is just the max intensity of the ego. But if you have a phobia to spiders or bugs, and all of a sudden a spider comes in the room and you see it, and I'm trying to tell you, don't worry, it's so small, it's not poisonous, and try to reason with you with all the logic and the facts, what's going to happen? You're not going to hear any of that, and you're just going to book it out the door, right? That phobic response to an external stimuli. And so the only way to actually rise above that is to focus on our divinity and hold that energy. Eric says they need that negative energy to keep feeding their ego. Block them and give no energy their way. Absolutely. That's it. And that was a hard thing for me to do before. Like, I didn't want to block anyone. You guys in the old community, you saw that. Like, I just let everyone stay in the group no matter what negativity they spewed. I was just like, oh, that's fine, got nothing to hide anyways, so it's just like free speech, just let them do what they do. And now it's like, we're not going to tolerate that in the divinity group. It's like, no, if you're here to combat it with all that resistance and attack with the ego, yeah, just a simple send you to the block party, and enjoy that program, because we're not going to go there. Paul says, I find the opportunistic triggers are challenging when they make their presence known. These can appear like booby traps. Yeah, for sure. So it's awesome that you're conscious that they are triggers, right? Because that's the first step, is overcoming that victim mentality of, okay, oh, they did this, or they did that to me, or this person did that, betrayal, all that. When you actually recognize that the trigger's happening within you, like the open wound with the salt, right? If you didn't have a wound there, the salt wouldn't affect you. So it is pointing out your wound so you can go inside. I remember early on in my process with Don, I would come to him with things like that, the betrayals, and this person did this, said this, in my relationship at the time too. And every time he would cut me off and, can I ask you some questions? He would start asking me questions all about me, and he would show me that the trigger was all about me. It had nothing to do with whatever happened externally. But yeah, I definitely went through some of those booby traps, Paul, for sure. And again, the best solution that we found was just staying more in that divine focus. Like today, it was like I went there we went to pick up my brother. My brother Jesse is here. He flew in from Vancouver, arrived today, this afternoon, and there was all sorts of traffic and there's like flood warnings and all of this to get us to the airport. So it took like 3 times as long. And I just decided to do my divine focus for most of that, which was awesome. So it's like the 3 times a day is minimum. And Don has it down to like 5 minutes now, because you can really tune into it in 2 minutes. But that's also a minimum, right? Like I'm pushing for an hour each time, at least. Especially, the higher you go in this, it's like the less you can really get away with. It's like 99.9%, as we were just talking with Sam, just doesn't work. So you got to clean those dust bunnies up, and they're a little more subtle at that at that level, compared to back when I was 2019 at the level of 125 with all the addictions. I mean, any sort of divine focus taking me out of that was like a quantum leap, right? But now they're such granular adjustments. Powell says he does 3 times a day, 25 minutes is divine focus. Awesome, Powell. Absolutely awesome. I remember when it was a chore for me. You just know the ego is working on you on that one. And it was like, oh, okay, I got to get my 10 minutes in. And then the ego would always find something to take me out at minute 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like, no, you don't have time for 10 minutes. You got to go do that. Powell says, yeah, ego's shit. I saw a meme on social media right before the call that said, the demons in your head are insignificant compared to the God in your heart. And that's really what it is. We can have all these different analogies for the ego, but it just has no. I love the analogy of the light, like in a room, because when you go in a room, the light doesn't fight the darkness, right? You don't start seeing this dark mist coming over the light sometimes when you turn the light on in the room. It's just, you turn it on, you decide to turn it on, and in an instant, all the dark energy is gone, right? And so the only time you can be back in the ego or out of your light is if you choose to turn the light off. And then the room is dark in the absence of your light. But then again, you're 1 second, one decision away from hitting the light switch again. Right. So again, remember to consider what's taking you out that 20% of the time. Like, why are you choosing to turn the light off that 20% of the time? And really go deep on that, because that will get to the core. You know, for me, it was, you ready to come on? Yeah. My fiance just walked in the room, so she would love to come share. Nina, everyone wants to meet you, I'm sure. Just tell them about the seaweed. That would be fun. Huh? You gonna do it then? Okay. Okay. All right, we'll let you out of this one. Said she'll share, she'll be in the group with us in the live transformation on February 7th, my birthday. But well, I'll ask you, Nina. I asked everyone what percentage of the day they're in their divinity out of 100%. What would you say your percentage that you're in the divinity? She says 100. She says 100. And what would you say before Dawn's program? What percentage you were? 0. That's a very honest answer. Yeah. She said living with fear and ego shit. Yep. My brother's not here. He also needed to rest. He was on a, thanks for sharing. He was on a 30-hour flight. He had to stop in Hong Kong and then Manila and then down to Davao. So he is also resting. And he will be here tomorrow with Sam. So that will be fun to have them share, and I'll introduce you guys to my brother then. So speaking of the February 7th event, that's going to be the last event that we can do for free. So really encourage those of you that have close loved ones and friends to get them onboarded with Will, so that they can be a part of that, because we're just never going to be able to charge nothing for it. Don's been on my case about it, like, what are you doing giving it away for free, you know? But for me, you know, going back to the friendships were over divinity last year, I wanted everyone in the community, you know, to feel like they got way more than they came from when the prop firms, you know, decided to not follow through, and that didn't work out for us. So that's why we opened it up. That's why we've kept it free all this time. And super happy that those of you that jumped on it are having absolutely amazing transformations, and you're still with us. Many ran off to the money program, and that's okay. Maybe we'll see them next time. Eric says it was worth the price of admission. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, going through you know, that old community was just a real big ego distraction for me personally. And it got really bad, right? Because of all the intensity of it and how fast it happened and how much it got me away from my divinity in such a short period of time. And for me, that was an absolute priceless experience, you know, to really make it clear of how infinitely valued the divinity is, and how no amount of money will ever cover up any of that ego shit. So I first had to make that decision for myself, and that's what now has evolved into everything becoming IAMDIVINITY. And I really thank those of you that saw that journey and decided that you wanted to do the same thing. You know, I know that I don't take that decision lightly, so it's awesome to have you. Janet's trying to get in. Okay, Gilbert, love to hear where you're at, bud. I heard there was a little mix up with the passport thing, so I'd love to figure that out like ASAP so you could be here for February 7th. But what's going on in Gilbert's world? What's up?
How's it going?
Awesome, bud. Congratulations
it's
on
going-
holding 100%.
Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting the situation I'm currently in, because in the military they took care of the passport for me. I didn't realize until I took a look at it because I didn't need it. The old passport I had expired, unfortunately, and so right now it's like a little hiccup because my birth certificate, it says not named and then my last name. And I'm just like, what the heck? And there's like a huge red stamp that goes across it that says for government use only. So I don't know, man. I don't know if they're gonna accept that because all I have is my VA card, my veterans ID card. So they said I would have to fill out some form and I would have to show the proof of the birth certificate. So I'm just like, right now I'm just like, man, it's good. Hopefully it's gonna be like a Hail Mary. It's either she approves me or she doesn't. And then it's very embarrassing to talk about it on live, but my financial situation, I'm like I only have enough to pay for the passport, which is 225. So that's that. And then like if I were to expedite the birth certificate, it would still take 3 to 4 days to get here, and that's like another 140. And I'm just like, so right now that's where I'm currently at. So I know it's just a little test. I know they're trying to like instill a little bit of fear into me, but I'm not gonna let that try to get to me. I'm just trying to find solutions and try to press forward because I'm really adamant about trying to get over there. So if I have to pray every single night, like put it in her heart, you know. So I really wanted to get at least the dates and then like the location so I can go over there and talk to them and be like, hey, will this birth certificate work? You know, so I can go through. If not, can I just show you the proof that I have purchased my birth certificate and it's on its way? Like, you know, like I need to expedite this. So that's where I'm at right now, and it's the weekend, so I have to wait till like Monday to go in person and talk to them because they said I couldn't do anything without dates and the itinerary or something like that. So uh, besides that, I'm just grateful. Been getting blessed. More people are coming into my life, and I thought I was just gonna be on a podcast for the first episode. I thought I was gonna be like one of the guests, and then she told me no, we would love to have you for like the whole series if possible. So that's last night I got that, and then yesterday as well too. One of my I've another friend that I told you about. I just got a rocket grill. He said he literally just finished it the day prior, like before he reached out to me, and he's like, I want you to have it. So I'm just saying the blessings are still coming in despite these little the little ego, I guess little barriers, but it ain't gonna phase me, and I'm not gonna stop. And there's no way I'm gonna stop. I see it for what it is, and nah, I just deep breathe. I just breathe even deeper and just try to get rid of all that, and then just interlock my fingers, and then like even with family and friends or whatever, I, I know it sounds kind of weird or rude, but I just like turn around and I just interlock my fingers and I go, I am. They're just like, what are you doing? And I was like, I am again. So, I know. You guys it's changing me for the better, and I'm very grateful for it. So those are some of my updates. Oh yeah, and then when I cried yesterday, like I said too, it hasn't rained like in El Paso in a long time. And it rained like yesterday, like so hard, like it made up for like the whole year. And that's when I was crying tears of joy from the gift that he gave me. And then I just kept seeing a bunch of messages of all my friends. He's been breaking through, or, you're inspiring. I'm just reading all these comments on my messenger. So I'm just like, like a babbling brook over here. But it's worth those tears. It's joy, and if I brought the rain, I brought the rain, yo. It's okay with me. We needed that for the food forest anyways. We're in the desert, so any water is good water right now. We need that. So that's all I got for y'all. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again. I am forever grateful.
You're amazing, Gilbert. Well, thanks for being so open and honest with us. And we had Powell drop in the chat here that he wants to help you out and send you $100. And we want to cover the rest of whatever you need for the expedition, to cover the passport and the birth certificate. So let's just do that right away. We'll send you the funds, and if you don't make it for the birthday, we'll at least get you on Divinity Island with Don. So let's just make it happen as fast as possible.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Appreciate you all so much.
Yeah. Love you, buddy. Yeah, we got your back.
Love you too, Jamie. And I love you, IAM community.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Powell. That's very generous of you. Oh, okay, well, that was unplanned, but glad we got to get rid of the mosquito bites that I call them at this point. When you're holding the divinity, it's like they're just annoying little mosquito bites. You're just like, all right, get out of here. Like last night, so we went to bed around 4 a.m. after the stream and everything. And like I told you guys, 5 minutes before I go to bed, I get this just long message, and it started out really nice. So I was like, oh, this person is gonna, go like wants to join us on the divinity. I was like, it sucked me in. And then so like that's all you could see in the preview of the message. And then I opened the second app and it's like just ruthless and just super abusive and being a bully. I'm like, oh, and then it sat with me for a few minutes to, like I said, distract me in the divine focus. And then 9 a.m. We have a puppy. He's a big puppy. He's a big dog, but he's 4 months, and he usually sleeps in our room and never had any problems. But 9 a.m., for whatever reason, he was barking louder than I've ever heard him bark. Like that was the wake up call. So they only got a few hours of sleep, and then, like I said, all this traffic going through to get my brother in the airport. It was like the ego, just all these annoying little mosquito bites. It's like trying to set us off. I remember looking at the Google Maps and it said, "Oh, major flood warning, blah blah blah," and we were in this like standstill parked on the highway. And after about a half an hour, 45 minutes, I don't know, I was in my divine focus. Shout out to Joel, he was driving. And he was a little more frustrated than I was, put it that way. And then we started going, and right where the map was saying all this flood was happening, there was literally nothing. Like there wasn't one drop of water anywhere. And it was like, what? Why were we backed up for so long for no reason? That was interesting. But anyway, yeah, we flow through all those things. I saw Janet just arrived to the call. Good morning to you, Janet. How are you doing over there in Vancouver? It's okay if you can't talk. Who else we got? Tiffany, what's going on in Tiffany's world?
Hey, good morning. Good night.
Hey, video. Awesome. Great to
Hi.
see you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same. I think I experienced some mosquito bites yesterday as well. Just and mine is just being around other people. Both of my sons have been having basketball tournaments, and just being around the other parents is just like, I don't know. I try to hold my divine focus during those times, but it's really hard when it's like passionately, you know. Oh, yeah, anyway. But yeah, other than that, good. Everything's good. I actually have a friend who came into town, and she's been my friend for, I don't know, 25, 27 years. And she's the most negative person I've ever known. And it's really crazy that I'm her friend because I am completely opposite. And yeah, we hung out last night at dinner, and I just, instead of trying to be like a part of her conversation, I see myself now just kind of letting the chatter happen. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm like in a cloud, and it's just like, you know, um, yeah, anyway, but the more I hang out with her, the more I'm like, I don't know why I'm friends with her. So it's kind of an interesting thing because we've been friends for so long. Um, yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. She'll be here for this weekend, so we'll see how that ends up. But it's a very interesting challenge not a challenge, it's a test to see how well I stay in my divinity around a person who's just completely negative, like 100% of the time. So, but yeah, other than that, good. Everything's great.
That's awesome. Well, you look great, and
Thank
definitely know what you're saying about the yeah, just letting the chatter happen. And, less engagement, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Whereas, before it would have been all in it, like, oh yeah, let's go drama and chaos. Let me tell you my story that's even more intense than your negative one of what happened to me.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, oh, yeah. And Don does this thing too when someone's like severely, like intensely in their belief, and they're telling him about it, and I definitely adopted it. So like one example was when Nua flew in, and before he went through the process, and Nua was talking to Don after the stream, and he said, yeah, she was telling Don why he came here, and Nua was like, yeah, you only get 3 or 4 big opportunities in your lifetime, and he was passionate about that, and Don was just like, I didn't know that. Like, it's not jumping in and like, oh well, let me tell you about the 3 opportunities I had today, like it was just like, oh, I didn't know that. Just let him, shout out to you, Nua, if you're on the call. Massive transformation, so awesome to see. Let's see. Coach Cola, how are you doing?
Hey, I am blessed and highly favored, my friend.
Great to see you, man.
I was asking a question. I guess you didn't get it. My question was when people were talking about this percentage and that percentage, and the question was, how do you quantify? Is it just subjective for each person?
That's a great question. So, first of all, have you gone through the whole process of Don's? Have you gone through the program
Yeah,
yet?
yeah, a
You did?
couple of times.
Okay. So you know the difference between that state that you're just like uh, supernatural state, that light state, and then when you're not, right? When you're getting triggered, you're worrying, you're stressing, you're whatever the case is, right? That the ego energy. So just comparing those two states, and we're asking how much of the time, how much of the day are you holding that divinity state?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's basically for each person, it's going to be different in terms of how they quantify what that state is for them and how long each day they're feeling that way.
Yeah, for me it was extremely clear because I had like multiple addictions and like chronic stress, like I was addicted to stress, um, alcohol, weed, sex, you name it, caffeine. So it was very like easy for me to see when I'm holding that divinity and none of those things matter compared to when I'm dropping out and oh now I need a cup of coffee or whatever, fill in the blank on the addiction, or oh this is really stressing me out, right? Like it's pretty clear, and I have been heavily focused on this for 4 years, so that's a little bit different than just I remember the first um like few weeks it was like what happened, like like I was like I don't even recognize this person, but I was still just integrating, right? And it usually takes, from what I've seen, about a month to really integrate things, and that's why Don usually does 3 back to back. So it's like does the transformation, which and then the second event 2-3 weeks later is the holding, and then another couple weeks later is the acceleration. And that's because within that month is when people really tend to wobble. So having those couple more transformations, and I don't know, I do remember sharing that before, but for those of you that are newer, really making sure you're not just doing the transformation once and then that's it. Definitely coming on these calls helps with the holding a whole lot. Actually, Gilbert got his whole transformation just from coming on the live stream, so that was really interesting. He's the first one that we heard to doing that. But yeah, the recorded version that you have in the back office, the membership, you can go through it multiple times. But we also did, I think there's 3 on there now. Yeah, so there is 3, which you should do 2 weeks apart, roughly, in case you like, or unless you really need it. Like you'll know after, let's say 1 week, you're having a real hard time. I remember James, who was in our first transformation live, Don used him mostly as the example. And it was about a week later, and he had a huge transformation for those of you that have seen the call. A week later, he hit me up saying, man, like, when's the next one? I really need to be there, like, just all awesome. Right? Like, there's a shit storm happening in my life right now. Like, when's the next? And I sent it back. We ended up planning that event. Just really, it was James that initiated it. And I said, Don, we got to, they're already starting to ask for more help. We got to set the next one. So we did it about 2 weeks later. And then funny enough, James never even got on, the ego distracted him to not even be on the call. So I've seen him come in and out in these, it's hard, it's to recall that experience that you have. I've used my friend Joshua so many times as a great example, because just imagine being in a walker for years and then running in one day after the transformation and then going back to the walker, and like not talking to us, not finishing the process. That's like it must be so hard to do.
That's amazing. These sessions that we've been having have been very helpful. I think about 3 days ago, somebody and sharing of the experiences also helps people to relate into, okay, what does that mean? And then when they see somebody go through something, you can go, aha, that's what that means, and now you're connected. For instance, when you were talking about ineffable moments in your life when something happened to you that you're thinking, wow, how did that happen? How did I do that? And it's going to be very different for a lot of people. My situation is kind of like, if you're healthy, very healthy, and people give you these vitamins and say it's going to do this for you, it's going to do that for you, and you take them and you going, well, how am I supposed to know what it did? Because so sometimes that's kind of the situation. My story. Someday I'll share it in full. But this has helped me to identify certain things in my life. Okay, on the spiritual side, I've been very, 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 very involved. I'd say, I was born a Muslim, uh, and then became a Catholic, raised a Catholic, and then became a Methodist, and then reverted back to Islam and became and established a mosque, a youth pastor, their imam, and then I got born again, 4:30 p.m. July 17th, 1980. It was very, very, and then then got ordained, and got very, very deeply into, into the scriptures. Got ordained in a 22,000 member church, and at one time was supervisor with 28 other ministers, and in charge of a large area of Phoenix, actually going out and reaching out to the people, my wife and I, on behalf of the church, started a ministry. So it the one thing that as much as what I went through, what this program has helped me to do is to identify certain points in my life, those ineffable moments. I never put value on it. In other words, really identify, put a pin on it, peg it, because those moments are very, very important in assisting a person to being in their divinity. And so for me, uh, I understand being in your divinity in the Christian world, which I'm no more a Christian. Why? Because Christianity is a religion. Jesus never came to establish a religion. That's another story down the road. That doesn't mean that Jesus Christ means any less or God means any less. But divinity, then I had to relate it to being in the spirit as opposed to being what you would call in the flesh. So that helped me to understand that, okay, so because one day I asked if you would um, define ego as it relates to I am divinity, to divinity. And when you explained that, talked about the intellect and the feelings and all of that you mentioned, I said, okay, I can relate that to the flesh. Now I got it. Okay. And then when you talk about divinity, I can say, okay, I can relate that to uh, be in the spirit so that you do not involve in the be in the spirit so that you do not involve in the situations of the flesh, which would be e- ego. So there may be some people who have been involved in quote unquote religion. I think personally, from what I've learned now, religion stinks. It's the most divisive thing ever, you know. Uh, but being in your divinity, being in the spirit, it's a whole different thing. And I was able to identify what maybe was some of the things that have caused me some consternation in my life. And the thing I have felt a lot is underachievement because of where I had been up to a certain point in my life. Up to a certain point in my life, it was just like people looking at, man, why are things so great with you? Why does everything just happen for you? And looking up to you and regarding you, and then all of a sudden you're finding you're not satisfied, you're not content, you're underachieving. And for me, with my level of understanding of the word, that was uh, really disappointing. But from going through the program with Don on the video, it helped me to pinpoint those ineffable moments and how to evoke them and stay in them. So I just say all that to say, and it has helped me to establish more ineffable moments in my life, in my past. Now I'm trying to see more, identify more happening right now. So I would encourage people to, as much as possible. I've had a lot of things intellectually that would have stopped me from continuing to listen. because of what I believe that I know, what I believe to be true. Again, a lot of times, uh, intellectual information changes beliefs, modifies beliefs. So, like you said, what you believe of yourself, good or bad, essentially is not true. You know, if you look at it, because your divinity is the ultimate truth, and it's a point of figuring out how to stay in that, and that's why when people were mentioning percentages, I had to ask, okay, so how are people quantifying this? But I thank you for your answer on that. But I hope I didn't go on too long. I wasn't prepared really to say anything today. But I kind of had a feeling that, I might be asked something. So I was reflecting on some of these things yesterday. And then when you called me, I said, oh, I guess my uh, mental expectation yesterday was right. But anyway, doing a great job. And I think also the proof is always in the eating of the pudding. And as I mentioned to you one time, what attracted me to you is your ability to stay calm and with a smile through horrendous situations. A few days ago, I was saying, Jamie seems to be getting off. He never really would get so uh, agitated by these situations, although sometimes they're more intensive and we don't see what's going on the other side. But when I would see you for 3 hours, sometimes almost 4 hours, sit there and take a barrage of horrific accusations and problems and impatience that people had, and with a smile, take care of it. And when I compared it with the people who were around you, I said, there's something different about this guy. Because those people were a little more judgmental back then, did not have that patience. But like I said the other day, now I see why. So it causes me to give a great regard and value for this process. So thank you for letting me share. Maybe I'll share some more down the road.
Wow, thank you for sharing, Kola, and awesome to hear all of your amazing background of experience and all those different routes, journeys. I can relate with a lot of that, and I can hear it in your voice that just from previous calls to now, something has definitely shifted. The energy is different in a great way. So kudos to you, man, after having all that experience to still not have what we could call the spiritual ego, like a know it all, and coming to these calls and soaking it up and sharing your reflections. I think that was very valuable for everyone. So thank you so much.
Well, if I may, I tell you something about that. You told me, you mentioned to us one day when you guys went to, I think it's Bali, the spiritual, and some people were so spiritual they ran away, or
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of what a good uh, mentor of mine shared one time, and he was talking about there are certain nations, Islamic nations, where you better not mention Christianity. They can even put you in jail for proselytizing. And one day he had to mention to the one of them, he said, well, listen, if your God is so great, so powerful, why are you afraid of mine?
Love
You
that.
know? Yeah. So So those people who you met in Bali, my question to them is that if whatever they're involved in is so great, why would they be afraid of what you have to share? They can eat the chicken and spit out the bone and figure out. And so for me, it was really an intense opportunity uh, to get in touch with my divinity, staying in the spirit. Someday maybe I'll get be able to share, uh, what personally I mean by that. But I was able to see this program as something that is not opposed to what I understand. Again, like I said, I used to be a Christian. Uh, I'm no longer a member of any religious sect because religion stinks. Period. People just don't know that. It's a matter of a personal relationship with. We are. I see myself as a product. I was manufactured by a manufacturer, and the purpose of the manufactured item is in the mind of the manufacturer, not in anybody else's mind, because they are all manufactured entities, you know. So the purpose for me, there was a reason, a purpose, specific purpose, why God saw fit for me to be here at this time and actually be talking today at this time. We all have a purpose, which if we can tap into, our lives will be more purposeful, more rewarding, you know. And I see you walking in your purpose, which in a sense, in your divinity, you know. And I think that's what we're all striving for. People, in my mind, are striving for. They want to have power over circumstances. People don't like being in situations where they don't have the circumstances to change. And when you're in divinity, you have ultimate power over the elements. And we can, talk about that so much. So I find it totally congruent and not in any way intimidating, the whole process. Because again, from time to time, uh, what you learn will help you understand more. But if you shy away, you'll never understand more. You cannot know a person but that you spend some time with them. So anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you.
I love that, Cole. Thank you for sharing. Brought up a couple points that I can recall on my journey. I too was also a Christian for many years, brought up Catholic, born again Christian, and then even my sister converted to Islam, and I went deep into that for a while as well, just searching. And I recall a Christian church I went to in Vancouver that you know those places that you go that in your words just don't have the spirit in the house. You know, they might be talking about it, but it's nowhere to be seen or felt or any of that. So that was my that was my experience in a very popular church. And then I had a friend of mine. Actually, it was, just by chance. My mom had met this gentleman who became a friend. He invited me to his non-traditional church that was like a homegrown. They would go to different living rooms, and there was this pastor, forget his name, but his missionary was called Awakening to Love, and it was all about he would pray over people for miracles, like healing, and have encounters with the Holy Spirit in these living room events. And so hey, me being always searching and always open, I attended a few of them. The first couple I was like, all right, man, like these guys look like they're just making it up. But the third time, like they'd be like, on the ground, like shaking and having this Holy Spirit experience. And anyway, the third time I had it myself. And what I had noticed the third time is that I was extremely open compared to the first two, right? My resistance had gone away. Um, but and then looking back on that, because it only happened a couple times, and he traveled around the world, so he wasn't, there full time type thing. But I remember that experience, and then it was a few years later that I did the process with Don, and the shift, the distinction was that for me, that experience with the homegrown church and pastor was that it was like he had the healing power. So everyone was coming to him for the healing. And then he was the one to be able to, call in the Holy Spirit. So for me, it was externally referenced. I was still giving my power away to this other person and thought I could only have those encounters, at those type of events. And so fast forward to going fully through Don's program, and the distinction was, oh, I actually created that myself, that Holy Spirit experience. And then to use your language again, the ineffable moments, that is what we're talking about, is those, Holy Spirit encounters. The only difference is that ineffable moment is who you truly are, and we're supposed to be living in that 24/7. So that was the distinction of like locking that in, so that now I'm full time creating these encounters and moments within myself. And that was like, I mean, night and day difference for me. But yeah, you reminded me a couple of those, so that was cool.
Yeah, I don't want to mislead anybody. I have nothing against Christianity. I just don't subscribe to the organization, to the rituals and the robes and all that, because I don't want to mislead anybody. Uh, I still am a born again individual, just not a quote unquote Christian with the organized religion type situation. I am still full of the Holy Spirit, and so I am not afraid of anything and all that. Uh, so I don't want people to think that I disavow all Christians, all it's just the essentially the approach and understanding. It's when I realize, and sometimes I show people. I used to do a program where I mentored a bunch of people online, and when I realized that Jesus, for sure, walked on the face of this earth, for sure was crucified, for sure rose again. There's a purpose, and he for sure did not come to establish a religion. He was never a Christian. He was never a Sanhedrin. He was never a Sadducee. He was never any one of those. But people created all of those organizations and rituals and rites and traditions afterwards, just like all these other religions, which essentially took away the actual point of uh, getting into your divinity.
Yeah,
So I was able to relate to this. Actually, more ego is what religion has created. Essentially, you know, you can label it different types of flavors based on the religion, the organization, and unfortunately, a lot of people have been settled into that, and they can't extricate themselves from it. So this is helpful in terms of stripping away all of that stuff and getting to the core, to the meat. Hopefully, I'll be able to share some more someday.
Awesome. I'm with you, Kola. Appreciate you sharing all that. I know someone needs to hear it. That's for sure. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say on it is just the amount of years and time and dedication I put into doing all those programs and processes and religions. And yet when I showed up to Dawn, I was still very clearly in all of my toxic patterns. So as much as I was open and searching for uh, any solution, it's like I didn't find the solution in any of those. That's why I had to keep searching. And so the tagline with Dawn, I am divinity, is your search is over. And that ended up being 100% true for me. And then the other thing too is that people can maybe tend to put Dawn on a pedestal, or like, do the guru thing, or some people have even like called him the like modern day Jesus, and it doesn't matter to debate on any of that. But the way I see it is that Don's just put so much focus in figuring these things out, trial and error for himself over 44 years, that he like engineered a process that can work for anyone. And I just hadn't seen that anywhere else. So it's not that, Don's on the pedestal. It's the all that energy and focus he put into creating that process that anyone now can go through and duplicate the results he was able to get for himself. So whether it's the Jesuses or whoever, the many enlightened beings that have been in the world before, for me personally, I couldn't find an actual like roadmap from any of them of like, okay, Jamie, do this and you'll be over all your darkness. That just didn't exist for me until I met Dawn, and that, I've searched more than most that I know, that's for sure. Janet has a question here. Do you think you didn't find the solution because you couldn't surrender to all the other courses that you did, hence why you had a different experience? And then when you met Dawn, you were ready? That's a great question, Janet. And I mean, having narcissism before, surrender was not my strong suit, okay? Like, definitely not. But at the same time, I was extremely committed to finding that solution. And no matter what I had done before, it just wasn't there. So then even with Dawn, even though I didn't fully surrender, it was like everything showed me that was the solution to the core, like the cause of all the shit. And I can recall all the other programs that I've done, and it's just that hasn't happened for me, and many others that I know too. And if you don't surrender with Dawn, you can still hold on to the attachments to the ego as well. I did that 3 major times where I totally pushed Dawn away. The difference is that when I pushed him away and I went searching back to the other programs, that solution didn't exist. So then ultimately it was like I was forced to surrender to Dawn's this process. It's like I had no other freaking options. And I definitely didn't want to continue doing what I was doing. Michael joined late. Yeah, we'll have we're wrapping up, Michael, so there'll be a recording for you, and also on the live streams in the Facebook group, so you can catch it there. LK, did you go down the Scientology rabbit hole? Yes, I absolutely did, LK. I for sure did. Yeah. Hubbard had some interesting material, that's for sure. And the way I would just, intuitively in this moment tell you, and also recalling all my experience with whatever program, name the religion or personal development or spiritual method or any of those, it didn't get to like the cause of all the causes, right? They were very symptom based, and combined with they were an intellectual understanding. So no matter how much I attempted to shift the cause, which happened neurologically, right before the age of reason, before we even had the intellect, that's where our core trauma and cause to all of those toxic patterns and programs happened. And so to use an intellectual program to unravel something that happened neurologically, that's where the disconnect is. That's why reading all the books doesn't do it. Like all the information doesn't do it. So that's another super key distinction, is that Don actually has to bypass the intellect for his process to work. So I'm not aware of even any other religions that do that. And I don't mean to harp on religion today, as Kolo was saying. Like we're not putting any system down. It's just if you want to put a number on it, right? Remember that consciousness chart we showed, so 0 to 1,000. All the other programs I experienced were at the absolute max 499. 499, and 400 is the level of reason and logic. So it's definitely a huge jump if you're, you know, somewhere under 200 like I was. 125 is where those addictions manifest. 125 out of 1,000. So but the interesting thing for me was that even if I did those personal development programs, let's say Scientology, for example, I don't know where it's at, but let's just say it's like in the 300s, you know, or the Tony Robbins, or in the 200s, like whatever. And maybe some of you can relate to this, like going to the whatever seminar or event, and you get this like literal natural high for 1, 2, 3 days, and then afterwards you're right back where you started, right? Like when you get home, it's like all that stuff that you wanted to implement and all the things that you learned and all that is like you're right back where you were going into it. So that was the interesting thing for me, is that none of it held. There was no holding to it. So if I got to 200, you know, which would be a huge jump, 125 to 200 is a huge jump. But if I did in a seminar, for example, I'd be back at 125 with all my addictions the week later. You know, so I challenge any of you to find another solution. I mean, we'll add it to the I Am Divinity line. I mean, it's like, sure. But I haven't seen it. But great questions. What time is it, Will? 12:33. Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap up here. Is there anyone else that wants to share or ask anything before we let you go? And then we'll do the onboarding call here. We'll help you out at the top of the hour. What's that? I know this call is for the transformation program. Okay, yeah, Chucks, that's onboarding call for you.
Yeah, I can wait for the onboarding call. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, awesome. Great to see you here again. Yeah, so we'll help either with accessing the transformation or the Forex or crypto fund. If you need help with that, that'll be on the onboarding. Oh, Vanessa's coming in a little late. Maybe she has something to share. Is she in? Welcome to the call, Vanessa. We were just wrapping up. Do you have anything to share with us? Okay, well, thanks for being here, as always. Love going deep on this, deeper and deeper every day, it seems. Tomorrow I'll introduce you to my brother Jesse. Excited to have him. And make sure you get prepared for the February 7th event, what time are we going to do that at? What time is sunrise? Like 6 a.m. or something? 6. So that would be 4 p.m. Eastern? No, 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So we're gonna do it early morning, February 7th. Oh, no, we'll do February 8th for us. So February 8th morning for us will be February 7th evening for you guys, 5 p.m. Eastern. That is that's the time. Just decided right now. Okay, well we'll tune out and go to the onboarding. Great to see all of you again. Thanks for all the sharing. And Gilbert, get with us so we can get your stuff expedited so you can get here. Adios, everyone. Good evening. Good morning.